Today I'm with Dr. Leslie Saxon, the director of the Center for Body Computing at the University of Southern California, and Dr. Suzy Feigofsky, who's an electrophysiologist at Iowa Heart Center. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
So as very powerful women leaders in medicine, what challenges do you feel that women face in medicine today?
Good question. I think they face some of the generic challenges anybody faces, regardless of their gender, trying to come up and build either an academic or a private career. And then I think they face unique challenges, particularly given the fact that in our field, in cardiac electrophysiology, there really aren't that many women, in spite of the growth of women in other fields like neurosurgery. That's an interesting reason to self-reflect. I think it's partially the lack of mentorship. I think it's the fact, so there's nobody to template on a little bit. I think there's a fair amount of sexism that is entrenched. I think because people are training until they're 35, reproductive health is a concern for women. I don't think they have the visual that they can do it all, and they can. And I think there's something that people don't talk about a lot, which is external pressure on women. Once they reach a certain age, even their own parents who push them into medicine or into postgraduate training, then tell them to slow down and maybe start having kids and get serious about being a woman. So I think that pressure on women is enormous, and maybe they choose not to move on because they don't have the visual on. There are many ways to have a family. There are many ways there's just a lot of pressure.
I would agree with you entirely. I have noticed the perception of women in cardiology is that you can't be a woman and have a family and be feminine. And I think it's a turnoff for young women in training. And as Dr. Saxon said, I didn't have my children until I was 37. Fortunately, I didn't have any fertility issues. But what we find is that once you get outside of work, besides the differences between the sexism that I think is pretty overt in cardiology and electrophysiology, is that the gender roles at home, although better, there are still very expected roles as a woman, and that your work doesn't end when you get home. So I agree that for me growing up in this field, I was fortunate enough to have women mentors in my program, but I'm the minority. And I think that in order to increase growth, we have to make ourselves more accessible, and I think technology will help us do that.
Yeah, and I think we have to stop being so bougie, like there are more ways to have children than biological kids. Some women don't want to have kids, that's completely legitimate. I also think that we need to stand for something bigger as mentors. My first world problem with my husband is the same argument, who does more dishes. That bores me, right? So that's really not what it's about. It's really about most women in the world are property, and we need to stand for the bigger issues. And I think women will be drawn to us because we care about women as property, we care about children, we care about larger issues as women who've reached the pinnacle in the Western world of any, so I think we need to stand for something bigger than our own, problems. And that will draw women just because it's inspirational.
Both of you guys have been just very successful. How have each of you overcome gender bias in medicine, and particularly within cardiology and electrophysiology?
That's a hard question, and it's a loaded question. I think what I have learned is that I have to believe that I'm good at what I do. I know what I'm doing. I was very well trained. And I think it takes growing and confidence in yourself to learn to navigate your true path. And for me, that was learning to live my life for me and follow my own passions within electrophysiology. The beauty about electrophysiology, it is so diverse that you could really pick a little niche that you are so passionate about and become an expert in it. You don't have to do everything. You can, and God bless you for doing it, but you can really do what makes you happy so that you are taking away everything that you're putting in at the end of the day.
I would just tell women to kind of have fun with it, have a passion for it. I'm very competitive as a person, so I got along pretty well. I had amazing male mentors. That's all I had. I had maybe one female who was amazing, but I had a lot of fun with it. And I didn't step down many times, and that's okay. Ultimately you earn people's respect. People kind of bully you if you let them. When you're a subordinate, it's a little bit hard because you have to kind of toe the line. But I always had a good time. I always thought the men were almost equally as tortured as I was, in different ways. But that doesn't mean there aren't unique pressures that come to bear on women that are unacceptable. I just tried to stay in there. And I think it's an endurance contest. You know what it is to have a career. You wake up every day and you go do it. It's not you know, and then you try to overcome these obstacles and decide what you're going to lay your nickel down on and get good advice from people.
Going up through training, I don't even think I noticed sexism, honestly, because like you said, we're all being tortured and in different ways, and things may have been said that weren't necessarily appropriate, but I really didn't pay attention because I had my eye on my goal, which was to do whatever it takes to be successful. And I think most women in electrophysiology have that similar drive and passion to do what they came there to do. But in reflecting in hindsight of what it was like to be a woman in medicine and reflecting on a lot of the comments that were made to me, it is a problem. But I agree with you that our message shouldn't be focused on gender. It should be focused on being a successful electrophysiologist and drawing more women into our field. But I think that we should be focusing on a positive message and not focusing on the negative.
Yeah, it's complex, right? Because, you know, if you want everything and you have everything, you're not going to have balance, right? You are going to be busy at home and at work, no matter what you choose. So you can complain about it, you can kind of embrace it. I'm not saying it's not an issue that I may discuss with her, but it's not an issue that deserves a podium necessarily to me. Look, we're really lucky. Any of us who can achieve anything, right? Because most people have no opportunity. So I try to keep all that in mind and kind of get a little humble with it.
So I think this is going to be a hard question, but if you could give one piece of advice to young women who are choosing a career in medicine, what would that be?
I would say go for it. And if your work goes well, maybe some people will beat me up for this, but I think everything else falls into place if you're following your passion. Don't torture yourself over these issues over time. Everything will fall into place as it should.
And that's exactly what I was going to say is follow your passion and the rest works itself out. I think the biggest mistake you could make is doing something because you think that it'll fit into what your perception of your life will be. But if you're not passionate about what you spend the majority of your day doing, you're never going to be fulfilled. So just go for it, exactly as you said. Go for it, follow your passion, and everything else works out.
Yeah, there are many ways to do things. One of the reasons I refuse to get up and talk about my life publicly and my 2 blonde children is because I think that's a very narrow way to perceive being a career woman. That's not a box everybody has to check off. And it's ridiculous to intimidate people with that. So I want women to open up and realize that. I think it's really important. It frees them.
Well, I wanted to thank both of you guys because you both inspire me. I had the opportunity to kind of train in a cohort with Dr. Suzy, and you certainly have mentored me and helped me along the way throughout the years with new partnerships and things of that sort. And you guys really make me a better man, a better husband, a better father, and a better physician. And I wanted to thank you so much for being on the show today.
Get out. Thank you.
Thank you. It was always a pleasure.